Okay, right now we're going to learn how to perform a basic spray jockey service with a Birchmeier backpack sprayer. Now, I'm a tall guy, so I have these straps put out pretty low. You can adjust these according to whatever is most comfortable. If any of this equipment breaks, notify your supervisor, or you can perform some basic maintenance on them that I'll explain in a different video. But for now, assuming that everything works and is good, you approach the treatment site, figuring out what you're going to spray. Now, in this case, we're doing mostly preventive work. So what I'm going to be doing is spraying mostly the base of the home and some target sites outside the base of the home. So you're going to come up, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to adjust your spray. Now, you can either do a broad general spray like this, okay? Or you can adjust to a super fine spray. The only problem with a fine spray is that it's going to be blown around by the wind a little bit more. So if you're treating bushes, maybe because there's a lot of spiders like this, if you're treating bushes, that might be a better idea, okay? Once again, make sure if you're treating bushes, since Tempera does have a bee box label, you have to make sure they're not bushes that are going to have bees on them, okay? This is under the drip line, so you don't have to worry too much about runoff, but you do want to make sure that you're not spraying a bush that's going to be foraged upon by bees anytime soon. So anyway, if we're doing just a preventive spray, I'm going to adjust the nozzle so it's a coarse spray. You also want to make sure you don't adjust it too much, or else you're going to get almost a pin stream like this. See how it's coming out and it goes very far? That might be useful if there's a crack or crevice that you need to get to, you know, but generally I like a nice, coarse, normal spray, kind of like this. Okay, that's good. We're going to go along and we're going to get the base of it, right? She's had spiders in the past, so I'm going to make sure in a couple of the top sites I lightly fan it. Then I go along and I'm going to use this fan spray to get the base of the home. Now, my assistant has already de-webbed this home, so I'm just getting the spray part. As part of the de-webbing process, he did forget one small thing, though. It's okay. He's in training. You want to make sure that you pull out the mat so that when I come along and spray, not only am I spraying any bugs that are going to be underneath the mat, but I'm also making sure I'm not spraying the mat that they walk on every day. You'll also notice that here is the dead corpse of a pincher bug. These are really common to infest underneath where mats are, underneath places that get moisture every day are. So moving the mat will make it so pesticide can penetrate that area very well and get rid of the pincher bugs that are ultimately going to try and infest their house. Come along if you can. Get inside the potted plant just barely to make sure you don't get any ants. You want to make sure you get the undersides of these fake planter boxes, because that's a very common place to have problems with black widows. Also, if you can, get the cracks and crevices wherever possible. One of the nice things about the Birchmeier wand is it's very thin, so it fits inside of cracks and crevices very, very easily. All you have to do is wedge it inside and spray. You don't need an extra nozzle half the time. And then you come along and first make sure you get the base of the home. Also, if you're spraying along the base of the home and you come along a window, it's oftentimes a good idea to spray around that window, okay, to make sure that spiders don't penetrate through the window. Oftentimes they can come through the weep holes that are meant to keep moisture out. They'll find a way to get in and go in that way. So a light spray around windows is also very helpful. You want to make sure that you move aside any objects that might be held by humans so you don't spray them. Move away from the structure. Any kind of children's toys that you want to make sure you don't spray. And as a rule of thumb, it's very common to see sandals or shoes laid outside of homes so people don't drag dirt in the homes. Just so the parents aren't worried about their kids' shoes getting sprayed. You always want to make sure you bring those away from the treatment site. As a rule of thumb, you never spray firewood because it might be burned, and so you don't want dry firewood to get sprayed. If you can, move it away from the structure, or if you're already treating enough of the base of the structure, just spray around it. Usually the person that is doing the de-webbing will be doing this preparation for you. Now, as you'll notice, see how the cement is getting really dark right here? What's going on is you can tell that there's moisture that's come either from their sprinklers or from some kind of rainfall that might have happened a couple days ago that's lingering. Now, you can spray up to basically where the moisture starts, but you don't want to spray where there is moisture or else you get runoff. And also, this moisture that's kind of on the ground is just going to dilute the pesticide to such a degree that it's not even effective anyway. So you always want to skip, when you're doing a backpack treatment or a handheld treatment, any kind of water on the ground. Every time you open a gate, make sure to shut the gate behind you. No call is worse than the call than when a customer is angry because you accidentally let out their dog, or who knows, a kid escaped or something like that. Fortunately, we've never had any escaped kids, but there have been a couple of times where we have unfortunately let a dog out, and then you've got a big problem on your hands. Whenever you do around a garage, you want to make sure you pay very close attention to this little crack and crevice that you see in between the driveway cement and the garage cement. Crickets really, really like that area a lot. Also, if you see any cracks in the cement or the siding, like this stonework, you want to make sure that you hit those as well. Those count as just spot treatments. Now, with a backpack, you don't want to spray above your head. With certain pesticides, you can't spray above your head according to the label unless you're wearing a respirator, but that's generally not necessarily unless there's like a lot of spider webs or some kind of wasp nest. If you have any questions about that situation, just go ahead and call your supervisor. Other than that, we're back to where we started, and we've sprayed the entire base of the home. Now what we have to do is we have to try and do a little crack and crevice treatment. You can spray generally on grass with tempered. The only thing you can't do now, according to the new law, is spray onto the non-porous surfaces. So we're going to walk around and we're going to get some target areas. When you're spraying the grass, make sure you spray 18 inches away from the cement out here. And the reason why you're spraying out here is because a lot of these turf pests and the bugs that are in the grass will lay their eggs where the moisture accumulates towards the edge of the grass. So as long as you're spraying towards the edge, you're fine. Once you get up to something like this, it's okay to spray on this non-porous surface because this is the base of the wall where the black widows are going to be. Once again, there's a little crack and crevice. Black widows love those. You can hit that as a spot treatment. Also here, you'll notice on these cinder block walls, you always get this big long crack and crevice. If you're using the hand applicator, you're going to use the crack and crevice wand. But if you're using the backpack, this is thin enough that you can literally just spray in there as a crack and crevice treatment just like that. Perfect. Now there's going to be no black widows in there. Hit the potted plant and let's go back around trying to find other places to treat. Here's a spot treatment you can do preventively around a sprinkler head. That's good. Also at the base of trees here in Castaic where we're spraying right now, it's very common to get a lot of ant colonies and spiders setting up shop. So make sure you spray this area quite thoroughly. You might want to get the base of these plants to avoid, once again, an ant or a spider infestation. The base of outlying sprinkler heads is also important. This kind of wall you're going to want to walk along and check, and you're going to want to treat any areas where you see any problems developing with possibly spiders. They love these kind of cinder block walls, especially because they retain moisture, and they also have a lot of little nooks and crannies where they can set up shop and where they can plant their eggs. So walk along there, see if you don't find any spots to treat there. And then hit the base of all the trees and the rose bushes. Now, sometimes there are seasonal pests whether they're white flies or whether they are wood thrips or any of the other tens of thousands of insects in Southern California that are pests for bushes and trees. Now in this case, the customer has complained about some of these pests on this tree. Now, if that's a problem and you've indeed identified that there is an infestation, then you're going to want to adjust your nozzle so it's much more of a fan spray, and you're going to want to hit the undersides of these plants. This bush right here has had a pretty significant ant colony at the base of the tree, and they love feeding off of the aphids on the shrubbery. So you want to make sure that if you can, you do a couple of spot treatments where most of the aphids are, and you lightly fan the tree, especially getting the undersides where they hang out, just to make sure that the aphids, the ants, besides being killed directly by treating their colony, also now no longer have aphids to forage off of. Once you've done that, move on to the next treatment area. It's really important that you come and you get behind where there's pool equipment, because oftentimes people don't come back here and you'll get really big black widows, especially amongst all of these water pipes. So you want to make sure that even if there aren't any now, you preventively treat this water piped area for webs, and if there are, make sure you also get the undersides of the pipes. As always, don't be afraid to get on your hands and knees if it's going to get you better access to something. In this case, since we do have a lot of ants, we want to make sure we get the trunk of these kind of cypress trees really well, because you'll get ant infestations in there as well. And one final note, whenever you are doing any kind of spray in a residential setting, make sure you get the undersides of the patio furniture, because spiders love hanging out on the undersides of the patio furniture, and then when the people sit in them, they'll come up and they'll bite them on the hind parts, if you know what I'm saying. Once you've done all of the spots in the yard, it's a good idea, if they have a perimeter, to come out and make sure you do the perimeter treatment to ensure that no other pests come in from other non-target areas. And what do you know? Voila! We made it back to exactly where we started, and we can take the backpack and head back to the truck. Now, it's very important that you always keep your backpack properly maintained. You want to make sure you keep it properly greased. Birchmeiers have very specific areas where you can apply grease to make sure that they function as effectively as possible. We'll have more about that in a different video. For now, just know that once you've finished with your treatment, come and replace the Birchmeier in its proper location. Ensuring that this little seal, not this little seal, this locking mechanism is maintained on the top. Take your simple combination lock, put it through the shaft in back to lock it properly. Do your paperwork, leave it with the customer, and voila, you've finished an effective treatment with a backpack Birchmeier sprayer.